There's an old saying in English, necessity is the mother of invention. And that actually applies to the Accelerated Innovation Delivery Initiative, or AID-I for short, uh, in this way. In 2022, uh, we were entering a period of unprecedented high prices for staple foods and for fertilizer. It was sort of a double whammy for farmers and really for consumers as well. And then, of course, there was the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which further exacerbated already high prices on global markets that translated into higher prices for millions of low-income consumers across the world, but especially in places like sub-Saharan Africa and the Great Lakes region, exacerbated by the fact that farmers would have to pay so much more for fertilizer. So we were concerned that yields were going to go down as well as be affected by high prices. As I said, a double whammy. At that time, we in USAID were asking ourselves, what can we do quickly to try to address this, both the reduction in food availability and the higher prices for foods. So it was really a question of how to jumpstart agricultural productivity, and how to do it in ways that leverage millions of smallholder farmers, including in the Great Lakes region of Rwanda, Burundi, and adjacent parts of Congo, South Kivu in particular. And with IITA's leadership, we were able to put the one CGIAR system into practice, but not through the centers doing the work themselves, but rather through we were able to access emergency resources to allow our partners, our research partners, to pass important financial resources through, but not just that, but also on a demand-driven basis to provide access to improved technologies and practices and other climate-smart innovations that could help farmers quickly improve their productivity and respond to the food and fertilizer price crisis. I think there was a lot that was original in AID-I, and again, partly born of urgency in responding. So it wasn't about creating new programs. It was about enabling last mile partners on the ground. So think of 1 Acre Fund, Catholic Relief Services, public and private activities, other organizations, USAID mission projects. It was about helping them expand, accelerate, and deepen their impacts by getting an infusion of resources that we were able to channel through IITA, but also to leverage IITA and other innovation partners that put them just like this with the last mile partners that were working with farmers on the ground. We depended on the leadership and the participatory approach led by IITA, but including a whole range of other partners. Now, there were some other really distinct aspects of this. We were able to take a farming systems, agroecological approach that looked at that highland system, a very diverse production systems, home to millions of smallholder farmers. It was highly diverse. Think beans, potato, maize, livestock, forages, bananas, sweet potatoes, cassava. So really a very diverse system. And this was why the one CGIAR made so much sense, because IITA brought together other innovation partners in the CGIAR, SIP, CIAT, ILRI, the Vegetable Center, a whole range of partners that could bring and enable greater access to climate smart innovations, and combining those with the resources going through to these last mile partners so that they could reach more people, reach them in ways that were more climate resilient and helped strengthen climate resilient agricultural productivity, and take a true systems approach to what is a very complex farming system. And so again, it was about doing better, enabling other partners to do better in ways that also I think were good for the CGIAR, because it put them together with the last mile partners, and it was a very demand driven approach that emerged. I actually have been really impressed, and not just me, other colleagues as well, with what we've seen when we've been into the field. These have been truly transformative changes that we've seen. So even though we were working with ongoing programs. So a key issue, it was about seeds and agronomy and soil health together. It was not about one innovation by itself. It was a true systems approach enabled by the best science, access to the best innovations, and the local knowledge of on the ground last mile partners and farmers themselves, farmers organizations, farmers communities. And that's been so gratifying to see. But it was also better agronomy, timing of planting, better soil fertility practices, both fertilizer and organic matter, better cultivation practices, all coming together. In Burundi, we visited a women's rice cooperative of women farmers. Their lives were changed by virtue of the fact that their yields went from 1.5 tons per hectare to over 4 tons per hectare. And again, this was a combination of seed, agronomy, soil fertility management, and you could just see and hear from them how transformative this was. They had income that they had never had before, and of course, rice was becoming more affordable and more available to consumers for whom it's an important food. And one of the exciting things we saw there was that the women had hired some men to help them with the heavy labor. But not only that, the men then, who were also farmers, wanted to join the cooperative. They wanted to be part of this transformative thing that was happening. And so it was so gratifying to see this. And the other thing I would say is we've seen changes, and I can say more about this, but we didn't just reach farmers. We reached extension agents, we reached partners, we reached government decision makers who saw what could happen if we got things right. Now in Rwanda, what I would say was one of the things that really jumped out at me was the availability of quick cooking beans that were high iron, so very nutritious, high zinc, but also climate resilient because they matured in like 65 or 70 days. And that, again, for these farmers, many of them women, they just couldn't believe how wonderful it was to have a bean that gave them such an enormous crop. And when we visit, one of the programs we did linked these improved crop varieties with nutrition efforts on the ground led by CRS with local partners. And in those visits, women told us that they were saving 75% of their harvest to replant because this bean was like nothing they'd ever seen. And they were getting a very good harvest without as much risk of losses to drought and other kinds of pests and diseases that could affect the crop. The Rwanda Agricultural Bureau, Izabu in Burundi, Inera and Congo was also involved. They saw the transformative approach of these innovations, but linked to markets, all of them linked to markets. And that has led to some real fundamental changes. I think in Rwanda, what we saw was the great support for the expansion of the private seed sector, with the Rwanda Agricultural Bureau making that breeder seed available and enabling seed companies, many of them women owned, to multiply foundation seed and bring climate resilient improved beans and other seeds, maize, sweet potato, others, to farmers in parts of the country that hadn't really had access to them. In Burundi, it's really even more transformative in a way because, for example, a Ugandan seed company is creating a hybrid seed production system there. A lot of the farmers we worked with, hundreds of thousands of them in Burundi, had never seen hybrid maize, anything like what AID-I was able to bring them. But it was through building up that local seed system. And I want to give a shout out to the Seed Systems Group, who helped build that sustainable market-led system to make these innovations available. One thing about maize and the seed system and soil fertility is that hybrid maize, if you get it right, the right seed with the right soil fertility approaches and agronomy, you can increase your yield by fourfold. So we have pictures of farmers in Congo holding up cobs this long, and they're just amazed. But that's going to help drive a whole innovation mindset. And I'm really excited to tell you that the Burundian government is actually making changes in its fertilizer policy because they saw how much the private sector needs to be empowered to really get these innovations and market opportunities to smallholder farmers. So this is a fantastic success story. It was the right time and right place and the right strategy. And I want to give a big shout out to all our colleagues in our last mile partners and the CGIAR centers, especially here in IITA for the Great Lakes, the leadership, and the national government partners for seeing how the system could work better and make a real transformative difference that achieved the original vision of responding to the food and fertilizer price crisis. We see lasting connections being made and lasting changes being made. And I think we need to think about how do we ensure that those are sustained. I will say that some of our missions, like the USAID in Rwanda, has seen the impact, and they know that some of these could be expanded further. So they are coming in with, I think, $2 million of investment right as we speak to enable continued efforts by AID-I in that country. I would like to see those opportunities sustained elsewhere. We have been involved with dialogue with our missions and with other partners. I know that there's in the Great Lakes regions, our partners and NABEL in Belgium are very, very interested in these countries and these highland region. And so I have dialogue going with them. For example, we saw the transformative effect in the milk sector of these feeding blocks, the salt blocks that can take cattle in just a few months from 6 liters of milk a day to 15 liters of milk. Again, transformative and hitting our goals around gender, around income, around nutrition, around child well-being. We know that when we talk to farmers, one of the first things they do with added income is make sure their children stay in school. This is so, so important, and especially that girls are fully part of that. In English, there's a saying, nothing succeeds like success. It's one of my favorite expressions. I think we're in a moment, we've got some time left in AID-I. Let's work together as the community involved to identify, elevate, and find ways to sustain these most important outcomes. And I can't make any promises for AID, but I will tell you that your success and that of the partners has been noticed. So I remain hopeful that the connections that have been made between innovation, last mile users, all the way to farmers, the awareness from the national programs and the impacts on policy, and almost a mindset towards a more private sector led agricultural development, small and medium enterprises, seed companies, really making the difference and adding value to both public investment by the countries themselves, but also very much to donor partner investment, AID, but hopefully others as well. We know that some other, we're working with World Hunger Health from Germany in Burundi. So, this was a systems approach. It was who's positioned to help, and let's get them to come together to work together. So I remain optimistic. We can't sustain AID-I forever. It won't happen, but we can try to integrate, learn from, and sustain and grow its best contributions.